60 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 52. Part man.
Part machine.
All pod.
This minute begins with Robocop penetrating a computer and ends with him about to see his own face.
I wrote down that Robocop thrusting his rod into the computer's hole.
As a fan
He started off horny.
Yeah, as a fan of Alien and HR Giga, I am very into phallic imagery, just vaguely sexual machine-based imagery. I'm all over that.
I was trying to remember what the lyrics to I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts, give it a twist, the flick of the wrist. It's what the showman said. Oh, anyway, my first note is a very interesting one from someone who does a lot of now like photo manipulation, stuff like that. The eyes of Emil, as it's closing in, are roughly about 7 seconds. You can see where they've digitally, well, probably not digitally, but you can see where they've actually enhanced his eyes between frames, because his eyes in the wide shot are pretty dark. And as soon as they get closer, all of a sudden they've painted in a bit of the eyes.
Oh my god, that's horrifying.
I know! I've never noticed it before, and I was rewatching going,
whoa.
Hang on!
I never saw that.
It goes by so quick, you really don't pay attention, and by the time it's moved to the other screen, it kind of dims down a bit, so I think it's just one of those things someone just went, oh god, we can't see his eyes.
Yeah. Okay. What I was more focused on is why the computer analyzes each feature of the face independently. You think you'd show it a photo and then it goes, okay, do I have anything in my database that resembles this? But yeah, I mean, visually it's more interesting. But logically, it doesn't make any sense.
I think it's one of those things that's based off the old suspect, identification. What they're fucking called? When it's like, composite shots.
Composite, yeah.
Like, whenever they're doing, they composite the eyes and the mouth and the nose together. I'm not sure if it's still done that way, because I think there is some science behind this, and I didn't research it because I'm a nonce and I'm too busy. But, the whole idea of, sketching out a witness, sometimes that's actually not that good.
No.
Eyewitnesses are pretty fucking terrible unless you're a Robocop.
Yeah, I mean, I ever since I was a kid, I did go around profiling people, just always, I don't know why, it was like, I always took in, gender, race, height, those basic things, eye color, distinctive clothing, looking at exits in every building I entered, looking at security cameras. I don't know, grew up with all these action movies and spy movies and stuff, so I got into this house. Also, never stand...
know exactly what you mean.
Always stand with your back to a wall. Yes. Never some exposed area someone can sneak up on you,
Yeah, always sit with your back to a wall at a restaurant type of thing,
Exactly. Batman's taught me so much.
You always keep an eye on the end.
Yep. James Bond and Batman.
It's just good spycraft,
Exactly. All these
always
plebs.
know where your exits are.
Yep.
No, the funny thing is, we have biases in our own interactions every day. It's funny you bring that up, is because I've been going to Perth a lot lately because of, studying there, and it's amazing the amount of times when it's winter, it is hoodie season, but then I see, guy wearing dark hoodie with dark pants, black shoes, wearing sunglasses, and the hoodie's pulled over, and my brain just immediately goes, suspect.
Yeah.
That's just biases. This bias. This just flat out bias. That's part of it's society, programmed, A lot of media goes, this guy's suspicious. Even when the good guys are trying to hide in plain sight. This the whole Marvel... If I just wear a pair of shades and a baseball cap, nobody will recognize me idea.
Yeah, even though no one else dresses like that, but okay.
Yeah, except for all the superheroes hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
But it is very interesting you bring that up, because, I was rewatching some, and they're going, a computer would digitally analyze like every single pixel in this kind of image and algorithmically determine a potential result from that.
Yeah.
But we are talking visual language here, and an audience, especially about this time, would know through cop shows, identikits and stuff like that. So it makes sense.
Identikit is the only song by oh god, what's that name that I like?
What?
Radiohead. God, I could not think of the name Radiohead. Identikit is the only song of this that I like. Everything else is just so miserable.
I don't know. Hang on, what's the radio? They're creep, isn't it?
Yeah.
I never got into them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not my thing.
Moonshade Pool is actually quite a good album, but again, miserable. If you're in the mood for something miserable, that's the one.
No, we're not going to miserable just yet because we've still got more things to talk about before we get to RoboFly.
Yeah, exactly.
That otherwise would have been a perfect segue.
I know. Every single time
Speaking of miserable,
take a drink every single time I set us up for a really great segue, and then Simon ruins it because we don't have we aren't through all of our notes for Robocop yet, so
we're barely 5 minutes in.
So yes, this minute was. It scratches an itch I have about codes and stuff. You know that you all the little. It's someone's job to create all these records and stuff that show up on screen that most people don't pay attention to. But I love delving into all of that. Yeah, it turns out a lot of these codes were just made up, which is a shame.
Yeah, I tried to Google some of them.
Yeah. But we know that Emil's surname is Antonowski. You would never have known that before.
No.
Felony rap, misdemeanor rap. What does rap mean? Is he rapping? I don't know.
No, I think it's just cop speak for rap sheet.
Oh.
What does rap sheet? God damn it! Now I'm gonna have to Google what a rap sheet is.
Yeah, what is rap?
Is it an
acronym? It feels like it's short for something.
A criminal record, according to dictionary at Oxford Languages. What does rap in rap sheet mean? Record of arrests and prosecutions.
Ah, well, we've learned something here today.
Thank you, Mr. Google. And that's that's Cornell EDU, so it's criminal justice. So yeah, that's probably accurate.
Yep.
Now you say that, considering the history of rap music, disenfranchised black youth in America probably did have a lot of rap sheets. I wonder if that actually came about because of that. I have no idea.
Yeah, because I'm only just now realizing, the word rap, as in rapping, doesn't actually mean anything until it became the music genre. So, okay.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, sorry, as I was doing the Mr. Google search here on this rap sheet, it says, why is rap called rapping? And apparently, according to Wikipedia, as early as 1956, DJs were toasting an African tradition of rapped out tales of heroism over dubbed Jamaican beats. It was called rap, expanding the word's earlier meaning in the African American community to, quote, to discuss or debate informally.
Okay.
That's just the brief. So, wow, it's interesting that for something that is, looks like it's got a bit of heritage behind it, but to have something that's also associated, sadly, crime is associated with a lot of gangster rap of the early 80s. A lot of it was, about talking about growing up in the hoods and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's interesting that there's a connection there.
There's another etymology here. So Scandinavian, meaning severe blow with a weapon. And then...
Yes. What about that one?
Probably imitative and of Scandinavian origin. Compare with Swedish rapper, beat, or drop. Also with clap and flap. All right. So, yeah, maybe...
Wow, we've gone down a really cool rabbit hole here. I like it.
I love etymology. So, yeah, I think rap could be one of those words that... Well, here it's clearly an acronym, but yeah, it's just... because it's a monosyllable, especially, you will see monosyllables go through all kinds of evolution, more so than I think something that's a little bit more specific. The more syllables you add, the more specific that word becomes. I don't know, anti-disestablishmentarianism, the famous one. Like, you're not going to accidentally construct that word in another language, where rap's pretty easy to construct in other languages.
I think most people look at English and want to give up.
Yeah, it is. It's cobbled together with all these different bits and pieces, and it sort of stands upright. It leans over a little bit. You're just gonna just prop it up every once in a while, but yeah.
I think we can agree that most of English culture and heritage has all been stolen from other places.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut.
It's like a big ball of Velcro rolling down a lint mountain.
Across so many different countries.
Yes. We've gone down a weird path.
We really have. As a photographer, I noticed something. It's always bugged me for a while, but I've never could really put my finger on it until I kind of just went, no, this is kind of weird. So we get mugshots of the Boudica gang. And it starts off with Emil, face on a white background, which works because, we assume these guys have run in the law and been arrested at some point.
Yeah.
Hence why they got the rap sheets and stuff like that. Then we flick to Leon. Also white background. But then we go to Joe Cox. And he's on this kind of patchy, grey, white, almost camo background.
Yeah, and Boudica
And then
as well.
same with Min.
Yeah.
And Boudica. And it's like, as a photographer, I'm there going, okay, I don't know why you changed it. Maybe it looked better. Or maybe it was a different photo session or something like that. It could just be. But I'm looking at the exposure of Joe, African American. You've really got to be careful about your exposure. So maybe they chose a grey background. But the problem is he just merges into the background.
You know what these probably are? Is costume reference photos. Maybe they couldn't get these people back for these photos.
I was thinking that, but Boudica's looks really deliberately like "fuck you" to the camera kind of thing. It's not a talent shot.
Maybe this is how he naturally is. I don't know.
But even Min's phone picture, where he's like his hair's just kind of blurring into the background.
It's not good.
Oh god, I'm turning into a photography snob. It's like, come on, guys. Up your freaking game. If it had been consistent, I probably wouldn't care.
Yeah, where were they taking those photos? Because generally you only do that once you've pulled someone into the police precinct. They're up against the height chart thing.
Exactly.
So
yes.
Where would they have taken these photos and why?
Yeah, if it had been like immediate break in the very first few minutes, the shot of they got of Clarence Boudica is like a footage shot, so it's a bit grainy, it's a bit it's grayscale, it's a bit shit, which works very well for the context. It's like they wouldn't have potentially they wouldn't have a high definition shot of this guy.
You know what? Subconsciously, until we really analysed this minute, all this time I did see these photos and I went, oh, okay, so obviously these are photos because they haven't ever been caught. These are from a distance. And I'm going, no, they're quite posed. So
yeah, they're posed. Yeah.
So
you can almost imagine if you cropped out, you'd see them with the sign and stuff like that. It's such a weird thing. As okay, so one of my assessments I'm doing right now is
it's ruined this perfect movie.
It's not ruined. It's just that thing of, because my brain is so focused now on consistency throughout a series of shots, because I'm doing a folio exercise. It's one of my major assignments. So my brain is wired for that. So even all these times, like literally the other week when I watched Robocop again, I kind of noticed it, but I didn't care about it. And now I'm like, yeah, this is not good. Like, you should have hired me. I was a bit too young, but sure. I would have known how to take a shot like that. I probably would have taken a shot of their shoes or something dumb like that. Who am I kidding? I still would take a shot of their shoes right now. But yeah, that was my major...
we get to see everything that Boddick has been up to. There's, he's a suspect in a lot of murders. We got rape. We've got codes that don't actually mean anything, so we will never know.
Yep. My note is, the Bodica rap sheet belonged. And then I said we got Robocop blocked.
I like to imagine what the codes are, camping in video games. I don't know, just staying in one spot in online games. That's illegal in the future, by the way.
Teabagging a corpse for 10 minutes.
Yeah, excessive teabagging. It's illegal. In the state of Detroit.
I'm the kind of guy that would have put, jaywalking and littering, just peppered them in there, just some really low tier stuff.
I'm surprised that they didn't take this opportunity to do anything comedic, because it is Robocop. There should be a little bit of farce there.
I do have something to back me up on this, but I think it's one of those things where they really were laser focused on this being such an informative scene, and they weren't trying to play around, and they were taking this hyper serious. Especially because it's a lot of info dumping. They need to keep it constrained because they need the people to focus. And
how do you feel about Marvel movies do this a lot, where you have so much comedy even in the scenes that are supposed to be emotional, that some viewers say it's too much of a yo-yo. They don't know how to feel, and I think Guardians of the Galaxy.
I've never had an issue.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 definitely did it a lot.
I've never had an issue with that, because ultimately, a Marvel movie is still ultimately supposed to be entertainment. At the end of the day, it's supposed to be entertainment, and comic books are kind of daft. Comic books as a form are not... Okay, they've gotten darker and stuff like that. There's always been periods, but comic books themselves are kind of fundamentally stupid.
I personally do like that Whiplash. I am someone who loves comedy horror. I think comedy horror is a great combination.
Yes.
Evil Dead definitely has that Whiplash where you're laughing 1 minute, like, oh Jesus, oh God,
It's still ultimately playing on the same responses, and I'd rather feel something, even if it's just like that. Okay, that was dumb. Yeah, whatever. But it's not like, you ever notice when it's done badly? You notice it when it's done badly, and it's just like thinking of this is misplaced. I never felt that with a Marvel film. Yeah, it's kind of corny, but they're blockbusters. They're very corny. Say what you will about Michael Bay. They're corny films.
I feel like it's hard to put into words, but yeah, Robocop has Starship Troopers as well, or maybe all of his movies actually, Verhoeven's movies. There's a very distinct balance and there's a very distinct sensibility. It's just a distinct Dutch sensibility, maybe, that there is certainly this weird comedic farcical tone to things like Robocop, but it's not overt. You wouldn't have that little Easter egg there in the felony rap sheet for whatever reason. That feels wrong now I think about it.
If I'd have had it in there, it would have been like when the camera pans to the details of Murphy and we're getting a close-up on that type of stuff, that's when I'd have that kind of Easter egg in there. Or it'd have... there is Easter eggs in this movie. I kind of brought it up, but the scientists are based on one thing and the cops are based on... the cops are based on serial killers. It's an Easter egg, but it's not overt.
Yeah, I guess the comedy from Robocop, it's always played straight. You're kind of laughing at it rather than with it, but it wants you to laugh at it rather than with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'd say it's more, it laughs. You're not laughing at Robocop, you're laughing with it. So.
Oh no, I'd say it's the other way around.
I think there might just be a semantic difference between us, but we're not supposed to find Robocop himself very amusing. They've tried very hard not to do that. But there is an absurdity that you can't ignore it, and I think that's why the satire angle. Yeah,
so I'm saying, it's this absurdity that satire that they're playing so straight. So it's like. It can't... Yeah, I mean, it is they're in on the joke, but I kind of feel it's this meta layer of maybe we're just getting into the weeds here, but yeah, it's almost like yeah, I want you to laugh at it. I know you're laughing at it, but it's not quite laughing with it. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah.
The way I see it and the way I believe it's how I know how other filmmakers do it. If you're laughing at something, you're finding the thing amusing, but you're not necessarily connecting with it. If you're laughing with something, it's usually because there's an emotional connection to it, or like, you're laughing along.
Yeah.
So you're not going like, this is why I think, like, say, bad movies can be phenomenally funny. But you're usually you're laughing at The Room.
Yeah, The Room versus the Disaster Artist.
Yeah, you're not laughing with Tommy Wiseau, because Tommy Wiseau, even though he's saying he made a comedy, he didn't make a comedy. He made a drama.
Yep.
It's just hilariously incompetent. So that's where I find the distinction. You're laughing at The Room, you're not laughing with The Room, because The Room is not inherently funny. A lot of what The Room is doing is not inherently funny. But then when you get, it's definitely cancer, it's like, well, that came out of fucking nowhere. You can't help but laugh.
Yep.
But the context is like, this is deadly serious. Anyway, getting a little bit off track.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you mean. I think we're on the same page. I think it's just a semantics issue.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. Like, there's this other layer. It's not just laughing at or laughing with. There's sort of... Yeah, it's playing with your expectations in a really unusual way.
Oh, yeah, like, I think that's why Verhoeven's really great at the satire, is that you don't go into you go into Robocop thinking it's this really going to be dumb 80s comedy movie.
I think that's the thing, yeah. So some audience members, especially initially, might have been a little unsure of, wait, is this supposed to be serious or is it satirical,
Yeah.
And it's that way by design.
Robocop as a title is inherently stupid and funny.
Yeah.
That's why nobody wanted to touch this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you come in going, wow, this is really deep and serious. And this particular scene leads to one of the most tragic, heartbreaking scenes of this entire film. So
it's really interesting that...
And you're not laughing at it.
Yeah. It's interesting that... Well, I mean, they've probably done this intentionally, that the remake does line up with this pretty perfectly, because the original, he is going to seek out his family who are not in the house anymore, and in the remake, he is going to be reunited with his family. Very different scenes, but thematically similar. Yeah,
thematically similar, but not handled at all well. In the remake. But we'll definitely get to that. I do have a few more notes, because I got to point out something in... Okay, so there's one minor note in the script. There's some different numbers. Not big deal. That's just what happens in these kind of things. But oh boy, I have to point this out. In the book, because I'm sure if I brought it up in... I think I brought it up in earlier notes. Like, some of the names got changed. Like, Min in the book is named Chen. But I think everyone else's names are roughly the same. Except the last names are almost all different. Except for Boudica, obviously. So I'll go with the ones in the group shot first. So we've got Joe Nelson instead of Cox. Dougie Harris, so Dougie gets another shout out. Chen Oland, who is Min in this one. So instead of Leon Nash, Leon Klingensmith.
Okay.
But I've saved the best till last. Emil DeLorean. Now you know why I had to go to the book. I was just like, yes.
Names are an interesting one, especially when you're naming either an ensemble or just background characters, and it doesn't really matter, but they do kind of need names. In the Alien franchise, it's pretty interesting that, for the most part, characters are only ever known by their surname. They're only referred to as their surname. We don't know their full names, unless it's, your more central characters.
Like Ellen Ripley.
Elizabeth Shaw, but Daniels...
But even for the longest time, I could not remember Ripley's first name.
Yeah, and then Daniels doesn't get a first name at all. So a lead character doesn't need, is never once referred to for her surname, but they nickname her surname. That's weird. So Daniels becomes Danny. It's like, why don't you just call her by her first name? I guess she doesn't have one. I don't. Very bizarre.
That's one tiny detail of the Aliens universe I love. Like, and again, established right at the beginning, just this whole idea that it feels very corporate as well. Like this thing of like, we just refer to each other by the last name, but at the same time,
it's formality. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like taken like they're not like going, Johnson. It's hey Johnson.
But also, it's gender equality because women are almost never referred to by their surnames for whatever reason, and so this is a world where and I like being called Coulson. I mean, I paid for that name, so god damn it, I'm gonna use it.
I must admit, I do like how you end up the prequel minutes with
that about
Coulson signing off. Yeah, I've ever since I first heard it, I loved how you did that. I thought it's a great thematic tie.
Yeah, because that's Ripley saying, "This is Ripley signing off, last survivor of the Nostromo."
Yeah, it's such a great thematic tie. I'm glad that I don't recall Alien 3 or Alien Resurrection doing the same thing. They probably did, but I just really don't recall.
3
I haven't seen them in so long.
Plays the message from the first movie.
No, the last naming convention.
Oh, yeah.
But it feels like the prison planet is something that feels like they did, and I feel like they did it in Resurrection, but it doesn't feel like as I don't know. I just don't remember it.
No, they always do surnames. Yep.
Because I think the only characters that don't tend to do it is the androids, like David.
They'll have their first names, yeah. So that shows kind of a class divide almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure. I don't think Vazquez, my girl Vazquez, I don't think she ever gets a first name.
Probably not. She is the trope namer after all.
Yes.
Although Michelle Rodriguez is pretty much holding that torch for most movies she is in.
They're kind of the same. It's the same character roles.
Oh, Michelle Rodriguez is the Vazquez in pretty much every movie she's ever been in.
I love it. That's my type.
I think she survived some of the Fast and Furious movies, but I can't tell you that or not, if that's true.
Oh, she died and then she came back. She got better. Letty.
Got better. Yep. I know she died in the first Resident Evil film, and then they brought her back for one of the later ones as well, so...
Can't keep her down.
You just can't keep a good Vazquez down.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have some interesting commentary notes, and I think you'll like where one of this starts to go. So Ed starts off by talking about how... They shot this at a company, I think I mentioned this in the last few minutes. This was shot at a natural data center separate from all the other stuff. But Ed remarks about how it's interesting that a lot of like law enforcement now has these kind of data centers on buildings, and like, even like air forces and airplanes and security systems will have an on-site data storage like this. And I've been to a couple, not law enforcement, but like government agencies. Even one at the airport has had some sort of data storage assembly like this, with RAIDs and battery hard drive backups and stuff like that. So yeah, it's one of those weird things where Robocop predicted kind of where our technology went in a very weird exoteric way. But Paul also talks about how this particular scene was designed to show what he said would be described in a novel.
Right.
I love Ed's remark here. He says that nobody gets bored, I don't think. Everyone's kind of getting it. And I think that's really true. I think that's one of the things I love about this scene is that it's an exposition dump, but you don't feel like you've got exposition being dumped upon you.
Yeah, there's no dialogue. There's no one sitting you down and explaining it. Yeah, it does feel very much, I guess, procedural, if you will. He is a police officer. Yeah. This is a part of his job, reading those papers or documents or whatever that you see so many detective characters doing. So it does feel a natural part of the narrative.
And I think it just reinforces the whole idea of Robocop as this technological wonder, that he's not just like flipping through like an identikit book or anything. It's all done digitally, or what we would probably now do digitally, especially. So it's really weirdly prophetic in that weird way this movie is. I forgot one of my notes.
Oh, yeah.
In second 13, is that the return of Mullet Cop in the background? Over Robocop's shoulder.
Oh, yes, it is.
I think it might be a different actor, but it looks like he's still got the same haircut.
Business in the front, party in the back. He's the mullet cop.
I want to see a Mullet Cop spin-off, much in the same vein as Axe Cop.
Yep.
We need like an 8-year-old to write it, though, else it's not going to be legit.
Yes. The mullet has come back. I'm terrified.
Oh, God. Did it ever truly leave? Not when there's so many...
Not in Rockingham.
I was going to say, dare I say it, cultures in the US and in Australia that love to keep that thing alive.
Yes. Alabama and Rockingham have a lot in common.
I wonder if they're like antipodal to each other.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Paul talks about this scene, how it's very emotional, but he credits that specifically to Basil Polduris, who he worked with on his previous movie, Flesh and Blood. And I think we've only briefly covered the music in the past, so it might be something we definitely want to do a bit more. But yeah, I think the actual music choice in this is what really sells it. It just adds that depth to it, even though nothing's being said. The music's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. But we'll talk a bit more about him in the next commentary minutes as well. So yeah, Paul has a lot to say about he does, because it's Paul, he does pronounce it Basil or something like that. It's just what's his name? Oh, Basil Polduris. I had to look on the Wikipedia because I couldn't catch what the last name was. So sorry, IMDb. And with that, that's all my notes done.
I guess it's time for gaslighting Robocop.
Alex, how do you feel? I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
Now, these next few minutes are bumholes and nothing happens.
Yeah.
So, should I just say this minute begins with and ends with for every single one up until minute 57?
Yeah, it's pretty much just like everyone's whispering and everyone's not even remotely emoting.
Yeah. Minute 53 begins with Rorschach getting tased and ends with Clara Murphy about to talk to her son. And then 54 begins with Clara telling her son that there's nothing to be nervous about and ends with unemotional ? Reunion. 55 begins with Clara seeing her husband as Robocop for the first time and ends with David seeing his dad as Robocop for the first time. Yep, and then, so 50, are we talking about 56 or are we going to just jump straight to 57?
We'll skip to 50.
Okay.
We'll just talk about this 4 minutes in one big bulk.
56, this minute begins with Murphy asking David if he wants to feel it. It ends with the rear end of an Infinity SUV. Yep. That was my favourite one. Now I'm just going to open up minute 57 here. It's the SUV, and then it's Lewis. All right, here we go.
No, we'll talk about 57 next minute. 'Cause we really should
next minute. Okay.
talk about these brackets of minutes because we've got to talk about it.
All right.
My one comment for these 4 minutes: Blandum's family reunion.
Yeah, of all scenes in this film, the one where he wakes up and he wants to see what's left of his body, that's probably the most iconic scene out of the film. But this is the second one, and I come back to it often because it's such a scene filled with potential. There's a lot of things you could... I mean, there's so much tragedy and pathos and drama that should have been able to write itself in this scene.
Yeah.
So rarely in genre stories do you see a family dynamic. Once someone becomes a superhero or they're transformed in some way, there's no going back. Or then those stories aren't generally concerned with the domestic aspects of it. And even the Marvel movies, other than Ant-Man, family, Hawkeye maybe? Yeah. Mostly it's glossed over.
Well, the family is usually extended family in a Marvel movie, so like Guardians of the Galaxy is an extended family.
Found family, that kind of thing.
Found family. Thor Ragnarok is essentially a found family movie, but I attribute that more to Taika Waititi. He tends to do a lot of found family stuff.
And also, when you're dealing with a family of Norse gods, it's very heightened. Yeah. Everyone's already a superhero, basically. So to do
let's face it, the Odin family are all drama queens.
Yes, I mean it's all Shakespearean all the time. But yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid imagining, if you were transformed, become a werewolf or a superhero or a monster or whatever it is, how do you just go back and resume your normal life? And those stories always fascinate me. Stephen King's The Dead Zone, guy has this telepathic ability and then he just has to go back to normal life. Or The Misfits. Misfits were great. It's this British show where a bunch of random people get superpowers.
Oh, Misfits was great.
Amazing. And none of these people are worthy or special or interesting in any way. It's just, this was thrust upon you. What do you do with that power? And there's so much. Obviously, I'm giving you all these examples. There's so many great stories of people just trying to go back to a normal domestic life. Being Human. Oh my god, that was another one. Another British show.
Oh, I hadn't seen that one. I
really
needed to.
Good.
I never got around to it.
It's a domestic comedy drama about a werewolf, a vampire, and a ghost living in the same house. And so life just has to go on. At the end of the day, no matter how horrible life is, you still got to wash your underwear. You still got to sleep in a bed. You still got to,
So I'm about halfway through a series of 8 books called it's by Rick Gold. I can't believe I didn't manage to pronounce his first name right and almost pronounce his second name right. Rick Gualtieri. Mm-hmm. It's called Bill the Vampire. The first book is called Tome of Bill, and it's about basically
I've heard about that.
Nerd who gets turned into a vampire, and like part of the ongoing thread is that he still has to work his day job because he can't. It's not like his life is glamorous. He's just like shit's different, but it's.
Yeah, you still need money. It
escalates as the series gets on, but he's still got to have a fucking day job because his rent still needs to be paid.
So I love that sort of stuff, and I think this scene would have been great for that. I keep coming back to it. I go, you either play it as serious as it should be, or play it for laughs, which also I think allows you to let the audience breathe a little bit, but also empathize. Because I think I've definitely been in situations where something horrible has happened, or something we've gone through something extremely weird, but then the family just laughs about it, or you suddenly snap back to reality and go, okay, life goes on, we can heal, we can recover from this. There should have been, I don't know, some character development in this scene in some fucking way. Either you show how traumatized the family is, like the little boy, he's not a good actor, but I think the dialogue is fine for this scene, and it's kind of nice. Always been saving recordings of these football games so he can watch it with his dad, and Joel Kinnaman plays it for all he can. But I feel like
there's no energy there.
Yeah, we should make it clear that did this kid, was he home? I guess he was home when the accident happened. Did he see it? Was he asleep at the time? How much of it did he actually experience? Because seeing your dad blown up and then seeing the ambulance come and take him away, what's left of him away, that would be really scary.
It needs to be, it needs to be more or less like he either needs to be like almost catatonic, or he needs to be
absolutely oblivious,
maybe even enthusiastic.
Yes, that's what.
As weird as that might sound.
Yes, I would love it if previous guest on the show,
I got a cool
Luke,
robot dad.
Yeah, previous guest on the show, Luke, did mention this when he reviewed Robocop, the remake, ages ago, and he said, So before we get into that, imagine the kid didn't actually see anything. He's just been really sheltered about the whole accident, and he's just told, okay, your dad was in an accident, now he's a robot. So yeah, Luke was saying, he'd love it if, so I'm making dinner, do you eat food out? Oh, no, but, we'll sit at the table, and, he goes to sit at the chair, and the chair breaks, and the other little boy's, like, climbing on his arm, going, oh, cool, my dad's a robot, I got robot dad, he's just, hey...
I believe we called the sitcom Oh, Murphy.
Oh, Murphy, yeah, that kind of thing. I think maybe we have mentioned it before. Yeah, more or less, I think that's what we're coming down to here.
Yeah, it needs to be, even if there was, like, a cut away to Clara while her flag is talking to the sun, like, have that moment of her reaction to this, like, even if she's like freaking out a little bit. But no, it's like they're all like they're not enough. They're just like, yeah, this is just an average day, and oh, my husband's just turned back up. I'm not freaking out, but she's not freaking out. She's just...
It doesn't feel authentic in any way. It doesn't seem to be able to land on what it wants. I mean, the whole movie's kind of... It doesn't seem to know what it wants to convey. It's trying to do everything and pleasing nobody. I'm wondering if maybe there were studio notes about this or what. It's so bizarre.
Yeah. Well, even Flag's response, we get more... I'm not jumping ahead too much into the future, but Flag's has a more of emotive response dealing with Lewis in the next minute than he has dealing with his family. But we need to see that that's the issue.
Yeah.
We need something, like maybe, even if it's just an expression. That's the other thing. Even the acting is just so... Oh, I'm so sick of this word. Bland.
Yeah, it's not even wooden. It's just bland. Like, it's perfectly competent, but it just has no life to it. I don't know how you go to work every day for... like, shooting a film is like 3 months, 6 months, somewhere around there. Yeah. And you go to work every single day, and you're just doing less. Maybe the director was just do less of anything, just nothing. Give me nothing.
If you listen to actors, especially like highly regarded actors, talking about acting in a scene, it's always about... They always use things like emotional truths and stuff like that. It's like pulling into past and trying to use that as an emphasis of your emotive state in the scene. So if you're trying to be sad, you might pull something when you were sad in the past and trying to use that as an emotive response. If you are happy, you bring that into it. A lot of it is just like bringing through the emotion of a scene. There's no emotion in any of this scene. That could have been done.
And it's a very emotional situation. How do you...
Exactly.
Oh my god. Yeah, I would rather something go over the top. That you like as memed on as the Star Wars prequels are. Well, that's the thing. They're memed on. People remember them. People love them and quote them all the time. In fact, I could probably have an entire conversation which was just prequel memes, because it's a big old swing and a miss, and I much prefer that.
Well, as much as I loathe the line, I wish I could wish away these feelings, as much as George Lucas is trying to suppress all the emotion out of these actors,
yes,
they're still giving it a lot more than anyone in this particular scene.
Especially Ewan McGregor. You can't keep him down. He will find a way to inject character into his lifeless character. To the point that I think Obi-Wan is the only character I do care about in the Star Wars. Like, legitimately. He has a character arc. He goes through a journey.
Close second of person having the most amount of fun in the Star Wars prequels is probably Ian McDiarmid. Yes. It's just like, when he finally is allowed to go off the fucking hook as Palpatine, you can see he's just having so much fun.
You can just say, he is having the time of his life. Look at him. So joyous. But, one, I don't know, mildly amusing thing I found in these fucking minutes here was that as Robocop is walking into the house, I was like, is that a dog barking in the background? I just thought, oh, it's background noise. It's a neighborhood. Of course, it's going to be a dog barking. And then I watched the scene a few more times, and I went, no. No, that's his servos whirring. That's what that's supposed to be. It's like, oh.
I gotta say, I didn't notice the dog, but I was thinking, oh yeah, it's a nice little bit of ADR with the servos. No, my brain went to something completely different. I was like, yeah, it's because dogs can sense when there's a robot nearby, because this is Terminator rules.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I don't know, maybe you can put some audio of that in the podcast here, but to me that sounds like, whoa.
It's yeah. So actually, no. You bring up a great point that I was actually going to bring up. Literally, we're just talking about how the music in the original is drawing out this emotion, even though no one's emoting. Robocop especially is not emoting.
Yeah.
He's stone faced with this thing going on, but the music is drawing you in. The music is really empowering the scene. There is no music at all in these 4 minutes. So again, it really adds just the thing of like just nothing really going on at all.
Absolutely, yeah. It is the color beige personified. And before Murphy gets out of the car, there's all the beats here are right, but they're just not played at the right tempo or something. So. There's some nice cutting back and forth where you've got Norton in the car with Norton, I should say, with Murphy, and they're having this conversation about, it's a genuinely compassionate conversation, I guess, where Norton does care, and he's like, Murphy says, if I had a pulse, it would be racing right now. Which, side note, we've seen you have a heart, so. Okay.
It's almost like his emotions should be shutting him down. The thing they keep conveniently forgetting is a thing.
Yeah, and then it cuts back to Clara and David. David, the most generic fucking name in the world. But, yeah, so the family's getting ready, saying, there's nothing to be nervous about or whatever, and, there's this paralleling going on, and in more competent hands, I think the interplay of these scenes could have been quite lovely. It could have been something very just humane. It would have added so much more humanity, and that's showing, both of them are just as nervous about this reunion, and theoretically they got that right.
If we switch back to the universes, you did bring this up brilliantly earlier on, this fact of, in regards to how these will line up, it's weird that these reunion scenes are roughly in the same thing. But whereas in the first one, it works a lot better because it's Robocop finding out that his family has moved on. And it's Murphy emerging through these memories, and it's gut-wrenching.
It's a powerfully upsetting scene. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we will talk about this more
when we get to it. Yeah,
obviously in the next few minutes when we get to Primrose Lane. But in this, I didn't feel a single thing.
That's what's so fascinating about the remake. Is just how there is so much contextually that should be emotional, but.
Yeah.
You managed to portray it in such a way that it's just dull. Honestly, I'm impressed. That must take actual skill.
It's very impressive.
It's very impressive.
I will say one thing. At least it's not, the filmmaker banging you upside the head going, huh? It's emotional. Ha!
Yeah.
No.
It's kind of hoping that us, the audience, will do 90% of the work. I don't know.
Yes. The audience is expected to do all the heavy lifting here because there's nothing on screen. There's no diegetic stuff on screen. There's no non-diegetic stuff on screen.
The emotional equivalent of a stick figure. Look, it's supposed to represent a man. Just imagine a man, okay? Jeez, do I have to do everything for you?
Well, even the color temperature is really warm, but nothing else in the scene is. So even the color temperature is like, oh yeah, it's this warm family environment, but it's serving nothing. And again, yeah, if anything, it's visually more beige than some of the other scenes.
I wonder when you are filming something. I know I keep thinking about this from the actor's perspective, but yeah, like, what was it like filming this? And did they get a sense that okay, this is gonna be a piece of shit? I don't think anyone actually cares about this.
I genuinely have. Part of me would love to sit down with the director and go, just what the hell happened here? Because it's one thing to make a bad movie based on a beloved franchise. That's happened a dime a dozen. Bad sequels, bad remakes. It's a thing that's going on. And there's plenty of movies. But for such a movie to take something that's got so much depth and just... It's not even a surface level reading. It's just such a nothing film.
For once, I will actually say... The Ghostbusters remake was infinitely better than the Robocop remake because, again, big old swing and a miss. It has a lot of... It's vibrant. It's alive. It's trying to do something. I think there was genuine intention behind it. There was a creative voice behind it.
Yeah. Cinematically, it is actually a really good movie to watch. It's well edited, well, to a degree. I'd say it's well directed. The cinematography is really good. I actually like the ghost effects. I like how those crazy colors and everything work. You know, the color palettes and that are really good in that remake. The writing is sucked.
I think the biggest issue is just that they try to sell it as Ghostbusters. You know, I think if they tried to make something original with that cast in that sort of scenario, fine.
Yeah.
But because you have the hardest act in the world to follow, it was doomed to fail. And it's the same thing with Robocop. You will never be able to surpass Ghostbusters or Robocop, at least in terms of surpassing them and replacing them in culture, because these are such big, monumental achievements in culture. Any remake or sequel is just going to be, you know, a nice little entry. You know, I think it's not going to be like It. Actually, it's a really good example where it had already had an adaptation and people knew, you know, they make reference to the Tim Curry one from time to time, but...
They knew it was a thing, but they never really watched it.
Yeah, and then...
It was a TV movie.
Yes, and then they remade it, and everyone was suddenly a big fan of it, and rightly so. It's a great movie, so... I think that's the only way you can really do a remake justice is when the original wasn't that good, or it's an adaptation of a book. So
remake a failed project that has something there that can be worked with.
I will keep talking about
Ocean's
Demon
11.
Seed. I will keep Ocean's 11 was great. Demon Seed. I keep talking about this because, you know, I'm a mechanophile, so, you know, I'm just filth. But no, just like you could. So if you're not aware, it's this Dean Koontz one-handed. I think he wrote it one-handed one night, just bashed it out. But yeah, this highly.
What about the typing though?
Highly masturbatory story that he actually republished and updated with more modern references, like this robot AI, this house AI, is obsessed with Winona Ryder, and he's settling for the woman who happens to live in this house, and he, you know, keeps her trapped and what. I'm like, okay, if you get rid of the gross pervert who wrote this and like wrote it from either a feminist perspective or, you know, a feminist and AI perspective, like I think there's a really great concept here, really relevant. But yeah, and initially it was just disgusting. So yeah, I always say this: if I could remake anything, it's that.
Yeah, I've already told you about the remake that Rick did called Demon Load, which is about an AI washing machine. It's fucking hilarious.
I need to read that actually. So when I finally get the movie rights,
it's really funny.
I bet. Well, Dean Koontz probably sells movie rights for about $1.50, right? What the hell are we doing? We've been fucking rambling on for an hour. We didn't even have any notes. What has happened?
But this is one of those things where it's like, it opens up discussion, not because it's good, but it's like, because it is just so incompetent. And this is a major Hollywood film, and it's of an era as well where it's just like they were just throwing out these trash remakes just to cash in the nostalgia bucks. And the other one that comes immediately to mind of like Verhoeven remakes that just nobody gives a shit about nowadays was Total Recall as well. And that was
that was Bland City too.
I don't have any more notes, so why don't you tell the lovely viewers where they can find you?
You can find me at traviandesigns.com and patreon.com/traviandesigns. I am back doing podcasts. I'll see how that goes once I start studying next year. But my health's getting better, so I'm able to smash them out in like a day. So
yeah, I apologize for all the breaks we've had, is because my life has also been insanely chaotic as well. So it's like between study and theater and
moving house. You helped me drive my car to my new house because absolute mad lad that I am. I bought a car before I got my license because I'm getting a manual license and no one owns a manual car, so I had to buy the manual car to practice driving in a manual car, but I can't drive the car because I don't have my license. Anyway.
And speaking of projects that are still not continuing, I still do Kung Pao technically into the minute. You can check my other stuff out, photography and all sorts at Fandom Crossing and Helios Photos. But more importantly, please like, share, subscribe, all that other bullshit. We're on Simplecast, Spotify, Google, Apple, YouTube, and probably your other favorite, or maybe not so favorite, podcatchers. That type of stuff. Please, leave comments, write a review, shoot lasers into the moon with our web addresses, just the usual stuff.
Yes.
And all that lovely algorithmic yumminess.
Use your 5G that came with your new vaccine to communicate with us wirelessly with your mind.
Yeah, I'm vaccinated, so I don't know. My Wi-Fi's a bit spotty lately, but I think that's just stress.
Yep. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, I just haven't been vaccinated yet because I need to see a rheumatologist to see that I can take a vaccine without dying. So, autoimmune diseases.
That's a very valid one.
Yeah, I guess if anyone has an excuse, it's me.
Yeah, immunocompromised people are valid in that situation, and that's why we want group.
Everyone else, please get vaccinated so I don't die.
And if you're still around next time,
Robo, Bebop, and Cocksteady. There we go.
Yeah,
I'm very proud of that one.